Alright guys and gals, thought I'd do a quick video on some of the tools I use when I'm doing my wire creations. Um, Anyhow, we're going to see if we can't break this down real quick. So, we've all discussed the utility knife already, and this utility knife is a Kobalt brand, which obviously Lowe's carries Kobalt, but I love this knife because it's pretty quick and easy to change a blade. You just push this little thing down and the blade slides right out, and when you put your new blade back in, you let go and it's locked. And of course it folds and locks like this, and there's a nice little belt clip, pocket clip, whatever you want to call it. But anyhow, this gets used in my copper art mostly for stripping the wire. So anyhow, that's my utility knife, which I've got several different types of utility knife, but I like this one for stripping wire. Then I've got all different types of pliers sitting here in this little kit sitting here, which obviously, you know, wires like these are your cutting wires, so you would cutting pliers, I'm sorry, you would cut your wire with these pliers. Wire and pliers rhyme, so pardon me. But I've got those cutters, and I've got these really fine cutters, which, as you can see, they come to a point right there. So those are used for cutting tiny wire, thin wire, or getting into a tight spot. I've got these other nifty little pliers. They have a nice little bend in the head that allows me for twisting and bending wire in places that I can't get into, or even accessing the pull wire from a spot that I can't get my big old fingers into. So that's what these pliers are for. And then I've got some straight needle nose pliers. Those were curved needle nose, but these are good for mashing and bending and rolling wire as well. But I also have a built-in set of cutters, which you can, there you go, you can see in there, so you can cut wire with them. And the nice ergonomic handle. I almost kind of wish all my pliers had that handle. Makes it comfortable. And then these are some round nose pliers, and these you use for making hoops. If you want to make a small piece of chain or an eyelet or something like that, you know, these also have a little built-in cutter right there, so you can cut your wire. And as you can see, they have these nice little rounded tips, go down to a point. You can take your wire, for instance, here's a little roll of some fairly thin, I believe this is going to be 20 or 24 gauge. Well, actually no, that could be 28 gauge wire. It's pretty small, but anyhow, you would take your little piece of wire, pinch it in there like that, and then just twist your wire, your pliers around, and just like that, you've got a perfect little eye. And you can make them all different sizes, up to the diameter of the bottom of that, down to the diameter of the tip right there. So that's my, I guess you consider medium tools. I've also got these pliers, which these pliers were actually purchased while working at a body shop, simply because the jaws have no teeth on them. They're smooth cut, so you don't mar metal with them. You don't mess it up. But these pliers come in extremely handy for mashing. They applied force is amazing with the cam. I don't know if you can see that little cam right there that moves, but the applied force from these is off the charts. In fact, it would be no problem at all to take your finger off of these things, even though they don't have any teeth. I have bent nickels in half. I actually have one in my car. that I bent in half with this thing. Flat and a penny. It's crazy what these things will do, but they come in real handy when you need to bend something flat, mash it down all the way flat. The way the jaws move, they slide straight apart like a crescent wrench would do. They don't open and pivot like a pair of pliers, so they bite even all the way across the jaws. I love them. That's about an $85 pair of pliers right there. It's insane. And they make them in different sizes. I need to get some smaller ones, but made by, I believe it's pronounced Knipex, but it could be Knipex. But anyhow, moving on, in this little case right here, got a lot of mini tools. This little guy right here has these Teflon heads on it right there. That's very handy for straightening wire when it's kind of got some curls and curves to it. You just stick it inside the jaws, squeeze down and slide down the wire, and it helps smooth it out, straighten it out. Mostly for jewelry. Won't work too well on the wire that I use for making cars and other pieces of art and whatnot. This is it's a 14 gauge to show you the size of that wire. Those pliers, this is about the biggest, and this is almost too big. They make bigger Teflon pliers for stuff like this, but anything this big or bigger, it's not really gonna smooth it out. You know, they're like a wire iron, so to speak, but they barely work on something this size. And anything 12 gauge or 10 gauge or 8 gauge, there's no chance. You'd have to get bigger ones. But then moving on, there's some needle nose tweezers in there. You know, you get to spots where you can't reach into something to whatever you need to do, pull a piece of wire through or a piece of string or something. Those come in very handy. This is just a little pair of scissors, so to speak, but as you can see, they're micro, so you don't have any holes for your fingers. You just squeeze and they cut. I don't use those much because I don't use string that much, but most of these other tools that I'm going to pull out, you've already seen a larger version of. So we've got this one here, the bullnose snips, so to speak, and here we got a micro version of that. And then moving on, we get these back in here. I showed you my round nose pliers. Well, I've also got a pair of micro, as you can see how small those are in my hand, micro round nose pliers, so that I can make even smaller eyelets. To give you a size comparison, they're not much smaller, but they do get to a smaller diameter, so they're handy. And again, most of the stuff in the black case is going to be for use when making jewelry, not so much my wire art. And then of course we get back to the needle nose that I have and the ergonomic handle, the medium size that I call them, and then we'll step down to a micro version of the same tool, again for jewelry. So anyhow, that goes over all my pliers for the most part. There's probably some more somewhere hiding that I don't see or know about right now, but there's just a couple other things that I wanted to show you real quick. Obviously, if you're making jewelry, you're going to be making rings from time to time, and I haven't been at this very long, so this was my first mandrel. And obviously I did it for cost purposes, and because, well, for what I'm going to be doing most of the time, I don't need much more of a gauge than that. That goes from a size 4 to a size 10. We'll get that up there where you guys can see that. Let's see. See there, we start, and then I know it's backwards because it's on my selfie cam, but anyhow, it's size 4 by my finger to a size 10 down there. You just wrap your wire around it and do your little twisting things, whatever you're going to do to make your ring. And you always want to try and go a hair smaller if you can, just a hair. And then once you get the ring finished, I've got several different tools or rings that I can put over this, that I can tap it down, or I can use a wooden dowel. I will set it down, have the ring sitting on here, put a wooden dowel on top of the ring and work my way around the ring until I tap it down and stretch it to exactly the right size on the gauge to fit the finger just right. So anyhow, if you're going to be making any kind of rings or jewelry, a mandrel, you got to have a mandrel. You're not going to be able to size rings properly. Plus, you got to have something nice and sturdy to twist the ring around and make sure the ring is evenly round. It's not oval shaped, egg shaped, or anything like that. So mandrel is an important tool. And these guys over here, you guys have probably been looking, I don't know, but these are pickle jar lids. We got your, not a commercial at all, but we got your Mount Olive pickles, which again, mirror because it's a selfie cam. And everybody's favorite, or not, the Vlasic. Anyhow, so these were homemade tools. And use these for twisting wire. Like say I'm going to make a wire tree, a copper wire tree, or anytime I make, which right now I'm about to start making a Lamborghini. Anytime I make a car, I've got to make axles and wheels. These right here, simple tools that I made myself, out of actually 4 jar lids. You got the 2 pickle jar lids, and then hot glued inside of that is a smaller lid. Now the reason I did that is the lids flex a lot. They were kind of very, very flimsy. So I set these lids inside of there to double up the metal. First of all, makes the metal a little stronger, so that, you know, every time I have pieces of wire in here and I twist and twist, it doesn't rip my little holes that I've drilled in each lid for the wire to pass through, as you can see. So it won't rip those holes, and it'll allow me to twist the axle and until I get it to where I want it. And then I just slide these off and make my wheels. Or if I'm making a tree and I can fill this up with pieces of wire, get them apart, twist it up, and that'll make the trunk. And then I can work on the roots and the limbs separate. But yeah, these were homemade, hot glued together, as you can see. There's a ring of hot glue inside there. But anyhow, these things are invaluable when you need them. I don't use them often. But I was watching a guy make a copper wire oak tree of life or something like that. I don't remember, on YouTube. And I don't know exactly, I didn't get to see exactly what he was using. So my imagination went wild and I came up with this. So far it's worked. I love it. But anyhow, that kind of goes over most of what I use when I'm doing my wire art creations. And I've got tons of other stuff that I use for other creations. Obviously I create stuff out of wood, wire, paint, canvas, just about anything really. I mean, I enjoy it. It's cathartic, like I've said before. Helps me work out my issues and my problems. There's a couple of tools in here, by the way, that I didn't go over with you. Well, one of them is actually a nail tool. You ladies that are paying any attention out there, although it's in mirror, you'll recognize that name right there, old Revlon. Anyhow, it's a nail tool, a cuticle tool. If I can get it to come into focus. Focus, camera, focus. It's not going to. Well, you ladies know what a cuticle cutter is. Anyhow, that little blade, that little knife on the very end of that thing right there, that's very handy for craft work, artwork, when you're working with small stuff, wood, whatnot. And it's got a handy little, the cuticle pusher on the other end. That's a handy little plastic scraper, whatnot. I mean, you never know. I repurpose tools all the time. And then this, quite simply, if I'm not mistaken, is just to scoop beads. This kit was intended for bead jewelry, for making jewelry with wire and beads, but it can be used for whatever you can use it for, right? But anyhow, that kind of goes over, like I said, what I use tool-wise in general. I know this is very basic, that you know, doesn't require a whole lot to create stuff out of wire. Anyhow, any comments or questions, please feel free. And that's that for this. You guys have a blessed morning. I'm gonna get ready to start making a Lamborghini. Bye-bye now. Alright, bonus content. So who doesn't like bonuses, right? So I told you guys that these pliers right here will bend a nickel in half and can flatten a penny. Well, on the flattening the penny part, we'll go ahead and do that first. It's not like you can grab the whole penny and just flatten it. But these pliers have enough applied force that if you get on the edge of the penny like that, just on the very edge, and squeeze that bad boy like that, you get those. You see the penny's at an angle in there, right? It's already, something's changed, right? Then we take the penny out, and you can see, if it will focus, there's a sweet spot here. Let's find it. See the edge of that penny? There it is. It has flattened it down to a sharp edge, almost like a blade. So, flattening out a penny. And then we have your regular, everyday, run-of-the-mill silver nickel. Alright, so this one in fact is, let's see, this one is circa 1989. So anybody out there born in 1989, I'm about to bend a nickel of your birth year in half. So we set the pliers to where when you open them wide, the penny fits tight, or the nickel, I'm sorry, fits tight. So you got all these different notches and settings. I got one, I gotta go down or open it one more. There we go. Now the nickel fits nicely within the jaws of the pliers. There's quite a bit there to have to squeeze down on, right? Turn your nickel sideways to where it is dead across the jaws like that. And you grab the pliers back here, and you gotta have to use your legs. Wow, guess what? I have set the pliers at the wrong setting. You saw what happened there, it didn't do anything. So let's get it where we have a little bit more force on these pliers. It's starting to bend just a bit. As you can see, it's already got flattened ends, right? I'm gonna open these up one more tick. Set that back in there. This time, folks, we're gonna watch the nickel bend in half, because you see we have much more torque or force that we can apply because the handles are closer together. So we'll get this up in the camera. Alright, and it just bent. Not dead in half like I wanted it to, but it bent. And then all we have to do is adjust the pliers maybe twice. If that, maybe just once. Nope, it's gonna be twice. This is the fun part, because you've got to get that in there where it'll stay like that. And then One more time, we're going to set this all the way to closed, right? So it's all the way closed. We're going to put that bad boy back in there like that. And now we're going to close him up all the way. And we just take and bend each one of those down. And voila. Like that we have a nickel bent in half. Anyway, said it would do it. Thought I would show you guys. You got your bent nickel, bent dead in half. Yeah, Uncle Sam, I'm ruining your money. And your penny with your flat blade edge on it there. Anyhow, that's it for this bonus material. You guys have a blessed day. Appreciate it. And I'll see you next time on Voice of Reason Creations. Bye-bye.